Ethan Cole had learned how to live with silence, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, echoing quiet that settles into a man when years pass without anyone asking how his day went. His farm lay on the outskirts of Willow Ridge, a stretch of stubborn land bordered by old oak trees and fences repaired so many times they looked like patchwork scars. The soil was rocky, the winters harsh, and the days long. Ethan was the same, unyielding, weathered, and increasingly alone. At 38, he had built everything with his own hands. The farmhouse had once belonged to his parents, but after they passed, it became less a home and more a shelter where he slept, ate, and planned the next day's work. Friends from his youth had left for the city. Some married, some failed, some succeeded, but all moved on. Ethan stayed, not because he loved the land anymore, but because he didn't know how to leave it. Loneliness crept in quietly. It showed up in the empty chair at the dinner table, in the cold side of the bed, in the way the house never echoed with laughter. At first, he told himself he didn't need anyone. But over time, even the strongest men grow tired of talking only to animals and shadows. That was when he made a decision that surprised even him. The ad was simple, almost awkward: farmer seeking wife. Quiet life, honest work, stable home. He didn't expect much. Maybe a few strange replies, maybe none at all. What he didn't expect was Lily Harper. Lily came from the city, bright lights, crowded sidewalks, cafes buzzing with noise and possibility. She had grown up surrounded by concrete, not crops. Her hands were soft, her voice gentle but confident, her eyes curious in a way that made Ethan uncomfortable. She answered his ad not out of desperation, but exhaustion. The city had chewed her up and spat her out, failed relationships, a job that paid well but hollowed her out. She wanted something slower, something real. When she arrived at the farm with a single suitcase and cautious hope, Ethan felt panic twist in his chest. She was nothing like him. Her shoes sank into the dirt awkwardly. She wrinkled her nose at the smell of manure. She spoke about books, art, and community gardens on rooftops. He spoke about weather patterns, machinery repairs, and crop rotation. Their first dinner together was stiff and quiet, punctuated only by the clink of silverware and nervous glances. They married quickly, not out of romance, but agreement, companionship over passion, stability over uncertainty. At least, that's what Ethan told himself. The first months were difficult. Lily tried to help, but often got in the way. She burned meals, misunderstood farm routines, and cried quietly some nights when she thought Ethan was asleep. He felt guilty, annoyed, and confused all at once. He hadn't brought her here to be unhappy, but he didn't know how to make her happy either. Then one spring morning, everything began to change. Ethan noticed Lily standing at the edge of the unused field behind the barn, kneeling in the dirt with her sleeves rolled up, her hands already stained brown. She was smiling, not the polite smile she wore for him, but something softer, more genuine. "What are you doing?" he asked, genuinely puzzled. "I'm planting," she said simply. Planting what, he wondered. That land had been abandoned for years. Too rocky, too stubborn, not worth the effort. But Lily didn't see it that way. She researched late into the night, read books, watched videos, learned about soil conditioning and companion planting. She didn't argue when Ethan told her it was pointless. She just kept working. Day after day, she tended that patch of land. She added compost, removed stones, spoke to the soil like it could hear her. Neighbors whispered. Ethan watched from a distance, confused by the strange ache growing in his chest. Slowly, green shoots appeared. Against logic, against expectation, Ethan found himself standing beside her one evening, watching the sun dip low as the tiny plants swayed in the breeze. "You really think this will work?" he asked. She wiped her hands on her jeans and looked at him. "I think things grow when someone believes they can." That night, Ethan lay awake long after Lily fell asleep. Her words echoed louder than the silence ever had. As the weeks passed, the garden flourished. Tomatoes, herbs, flowers. Color spilled into a place that had known only dust, and something else changed too. The house felt warmer. Meals became shared moments instead of obligations. Lily laughed more. Ethan listened more. He began helping her without realizing it, fixing irrigation lines, testing soil, building raised beds. His hands, once used only for survival, now helped create beauty. And each time Lily smiled at him with gratitude instead of obligation, something inside him softened. The neighbors noticed too. "She's good for you," one of them said casually at the market. Ethan almost denied it. "Almost." Instead, he nodded. One evening, after a long day, Ethan found Lily sitting on the porch steps, tears streaming down her face. Panic surged through him. "What's wrong?" he asked, sitting beside her. "I was afraid," she admitted. "Afraid I'd never belong here. Afraid you'd regret marrying me." Ethan stared at the land before them, the once barren field now alive with color. "I was afraid too," he said quietly. "I thought I only needed someone to fill the silence, but you did more than that." She looked at him, eyes searching. "You made me feel again." From that moment, their marriage shifted from arrangement to partnership, from survival to shared purpose. Ethan began seeing the farm not as a burden, but as a future worth nurturing. Lily began seeing herself not as an outsider, but as someone rooted deeply in the land. The harvest that fall was modest but meaningful. They shared produce with neighbors, cooked together, laughed over mistakes, planned improvements for the next season. The house filled with warmth, conversation, and hope. Ethan realized something one quiet morning as he watched Lily tending the garden, sunlight catching in her hair. She hadn't just planted seeds in the soil. She had planted patience in his anger, hope in his loneliness, love in a heart that had nearly forgotten how to grow. And for the first time in years, Ethan Cole no longer feared the silence, because it was no longer empty. It was full of life.